Alright, so I wanted to do a quick video on setting up a PowerShell development environment. I guess specifically for Windows. I'm not really sure why you'd need PowerShell on any other operating system, but anyways, I may do some future videos on like different PowerShell topics, because there's a lot of like nuances with the language that maybe not many people know. So this will just be how to set up the environment, at least how I do it and what I recommend. So I'm using VS Code. I guess you could use a different IDE, but like honestly, I think this is probably the best one. I've used other ones, so yeah, it's not like I don't know. But anyways, so VS Code. There's one thing I am gonna show quickly when you're installing it that you want to make sure that you check, because I'm pretty sure it's not checked by default, even though it really should be. So we're just going to install this real quick. So here where it says open with code to the context menu, you want to enable these. That way you can right click on like a file or a folder and open that directly in VS Code. Yeah, this should really be checked by default. So once you have VS Code installed, there's a few settings to set specifically for PowerShell that just make everything so much easier. So if you come up here and you do Control P, you can open up like the command prompt here and just start typing in settings. You go to the settings.json. I think there's a UI for this, but I just do it through here. Like if you came into settings down here, I think most of this is the same, but not entirely sure because, like I said, I only use this. So the things that I use for PowerShell are going to be like these. I'll probably put these in the description or something, so you can just paste them in. But you want to have the code formatting. So autocorrect aliases would be like if someone is using GI instead of get-item, this would expand that out so it makes it a lot easier to read. I'm not entirely sure. This is probably just like syntax stuff. This one is pretty good because so in PowerShell you can have two different types of strings. You can have a double quoted string or you can have a single quoted string. So this will automatically convert everything that doesn't need to be double quoted to single quotes. So this is pretty nice. And then these are really the main ones. These editor format on paste and save is also super nice. So that way you get the proper like indentation and stuff like that. This applies to all languages, but so yeah, you want to make sure you have these. So once you have the settings JSON set up correctly, it's time to get some extensions. So there's a lot of extensions. The ones for PowerShell I'm going to recommend, well, I recommend this for any language, but Error Lens is really good. That way you can get the errors like in real time, like right in the thing. So let's say I did like an if statement and like I don't have the brackets or condition inside, it will give me the error right here in line, at the line that's causing the issue too. So that's like super helpful. I think by default, the error lens settings will also show warnings. So for example, like if you made a new variable like this, I think I have to save it or something. Maybe not, but if this wasn't ever used, it would be like underlined in yellow, telling you that you made a variable but you never used it. And I think Erlens would put that like on the same line. So if you don't want that, there's settings for all these extensions. So I'll see if I can find it real quick. Basically, I believe it's in one of these. Yeah, it's somewhere. Maybe it's this one. Instead of having also warning here. But anyways, so error lens is really good. Another one would just be obviously just PowerShell, so that you get the IntelliSense. So you need definitely the PowerShell extension. In terms of the theming, I prefer this one, dark PowerShell theme. You can see the syntax highlighting how it looks here. It's just what I prefer. You can mess around with different ones. And then that's the main stuff, honestly. I would say another one would be if you're working with like GitHub, make sure you get the remote repositories, GitHub repositories, or no, this one, remote repositories. That way you can actually connect. So you can see if I wanted to connect to, let's say, remove Windows AI directly via GitHub, I can connect to the script. I can make some changes or whatever. So if I save that, then I can just directly commit, and that will update the repo. So that's super nice. To set this up, you will have to sign in and link your GitHub account to VS Code. This is actually pretty useful because you can turn on the settings sync. So, for example, if I open VS Code on my laptop, all my settings from, you know, my desktop are saved to the laptop and vice versa. So same thing, if you reinstall Windows, you don't have to do all your settings again. It's all saved to your account. So that's actually super nice because it saves you so much time having to set it up again. So in terms of testing your scripts, I'm gonna recommend most of the time running your code on a virtual machine, especially if you're making changes to Windows and stuff. You don't want to screw up your host machine. It's so much easier just to test on a virtual machine. If something breaks, it's not a big deal. If you want to just run a quick snippet on here, you can actually just highlight this and do run selection. I use that a lot just to run a quick, snippet of code or something. But you really should make a virtual machine. So that's super easy. I'm using Oracle VirtualBox. You can just do a new machine, uh, you know, give it some name, and make sure the virtual machine folder that you select for this one has like plenty of storage. So like I would choose one of these, not my C drive. And actually, let me just set this real quick. And so then you would choose your ISO. So you just download it from Microsoft or wherever. It doesn't really matter. So like if we just choose an ISO file, I like to skip the unintended installation and do it manually. So that's just the normal setting up for Windows. So once you're on your virtual machine, you just want to come up here to devices, and obviously this will be different if you're not using VirtualBox, but you want to do insert guest additions, and then if you open up File Explorer, I guess I'll insert it so that it shows here, but you'll have a new sort of like drive here, and you just want to run this setup here. That will install like the VirtualBox drivers and all that. That way you can come up here once you restart and you can enable drag and drop and shared clipboard. That way you can, maybe copy this and paste it into PowerShell into here to test it, or you can drag your scripts onto here and run them that way. So before you actually start testing, you want to make a snapshot. So once you've gotten your drag and drop and your shared clipboard, one tip is make sure that Windows is fully updated and all like app installers and all that stuff is done, because you don't want to open up your virtual machine into your save state and it be like super laggy because there's all these updates and stuff. So make sure everything is mostly done, and then you can close this, click Save Machine State. I'm just going to restore my snapshot, but you would save the machine state, and then you would do take on whichever snapshot you just took, which would make a new snapshot state that you can restore to. So you can see you can make multiple. If you wanted to test, like if something breaks Windows updates, you can have one of these older snapshots that you know has an update ready. That's just a quick example of that. So another tip that will make things a little bit easier, you'll notice I have like my code workspace here. If you open up a folder like this, you can actually do save as a workspace. So that way, this is basically like sort of a shortcut to this folder. So that way you can just open that and it'll open your basically your project. Another thing that makes your life a lot easier is adding PowerShell to the new file menu. So I have the registry hack here to add it. Basically, you can just do new and make a new PowerShell script like this. Just makes it a little bit quicker than making a text file and then changing the extension. And then one last tip, this software is really useful. Reg converter basically takes something that's in .reg format and changes it to batch or reg.exe. So for example, I have it open here. If I were to quickly copy some sort of registry text, so we can just come into here and let's say we copy this. If we open up reg convert, it'll read the clipboard content, and you can just do convert clip, and then you have it in batch.